I'm an essayist, I'm not a journalist, and I have an opinion.
No one ever said, if only we had more Swiss in this country.
And I get angry, and I get sad, and I get,
This is the coolest stuff ever.
I get happy, I get stupid, I get drunk, and you see all of those things.
Did you know that everything you've been told about cooking steak is probably wrong? Or that you've been wasting time rinsing rice for no good reason? Stick around, because today we're going to shatter some of the biggest kitchen myths you've been spoon-fed for years. You've heard them, those so-called rules passed down from chefs and home cooks alike. But what if I told you that many of them are nothing more than kitchen fiction? From searing steaks to locking in juices, spoiler alert, it doesn't, to the myth that you need to stir risotto constantly. Yeah, we're going to tear all of that apart. Let's dive in and see if your go-to cooking tips stand up to the scrutiny of hard-earned kitchen wisdom, or if it's time to break a few rules. Trust me, by the end of this, you'll look at cooking in a whole new way. So grab a drink, settle in, and let's start busting myths. Now let's talk about one of the most sacred rules in the kitchen: searing a steak to lock in the juices. You've probably heard this one countless times. People will swear by it like it's the holy grail of meat preparation. Well, here's the truth. It's pure nonsense. Searing doesn't lock in anything. What you're doing is building flavor, getting that beautiful crust, but the juices, they're going to flow out just the same. So sear away, but do it for the taste, not because you think you're preserving moisture like some kind of kitchen wizard. And rice. Rice. Somewhere along the way, people got obsessed with soaking or rinsing it to wash away excess starch. Is it necessary? Not always. If you're making sushi or need your grains perfectly separate, sure, rinse away. But for your everyday rice dishes, it's a step that won't make or break your meal. Yet generations have been dunking their rice into cold water as if it's a life or death situation. I hate to break it to you, but it's not. Now here's a good one. Resting meat before cooking it. I know what you're thinking. Everyone says this. You've been told that letting your meat sit at room temperature helps it cook more evenly. Well, let me ask you, have you ever seen a chef do this during a busy dinner rush? Right. The truth is, the difference is so minimal that it's not worth the fuss. Go ahead, pull that steak straight from the fridge and throw it on the grill. The cooking police aren't coming for you. Next up, overcrowding the skillet. Yes, ideally, you want space between your food if you're looking for that perfect sear or crispiness. But let's be real, sometimes you've got a lot going on and not enough time or pans. Will the world end if you crowd that pan? No. Will it affect your food? A little. Sure. But it's not the culinary disaster some people make it out to be. And frankly, there are worse crimes being committed in kitchens every day. Now let's stir things up with a myth about sautéing, adding oil to a hot pan. We've all heard this one, right? You heat the pan first, then throw in the oil to prevent sticking. But here's the thing, adding oil to a screaming hot pan can cause your food to burn faster. What you want to do is add the oil before the pan gets hot and let everything warm up together. The oil heats evenly, the veggies cook smoothly, and you don't end up scraping charred bits off the bottom of your pan. Then there's the drama around risotto. Somewhere Someone decided that you need to stand over that pot, stirring nonstop like it's a full-time job. But guess what? You don't. Sure, risotto needs a little love, but it doesn't need you hovering over it constantly. Stirring occasionally is just fine. Let it simmer, give it a nudge every now and then, and it'll come out creamy and perfect without the unnecessary workout. Now let's take on a myth that has people terrified of using aluminum foil, thinking it's going to leach into their food and cause all sorts of health problems. And I'm sure you've heard that one. But unless you're cooking at absurdly high temperatures, the amount of aluminum that might get into your food is so tiny, it's practically laughable. There's no real danger here, so go ahead, wrap your veggies or cover your roasting pan without the fear of falling ill. Finally, let's address the granddaddy of all myths: cooking chicken to 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, people are still out there doing this, thinking it's the only way to ensure their chicken is safe to eat. The truth, by cooking it to that temperature, you're killing more than just bacteria. You're also killing the flavor and juiciness of the chicken. Instead, aim for 150 degrees. Trust me, it's plenty safe, and you'll end up with chicken that's tender and juicy rather than dry and tough. So, there you have it. Myth after myth busted wide open. Cooking isn't about blindly following rules that someone handed down years ago. It's about understanding your ingredients, mastering techniques, and most importantly, trusting your instincts. I hope you've learned something today and maybe reconsidered a few things you thought you knew. Now, if you've got some kitchen myths of your own, drop them in the comments. Or if you just want to share your thoughts, I'm all ears. And hey, if you're hungry for more cooking tips and tricks, you know where to find them. I hope you enjoyed this, and as always, cook, drink, eat, and repeat.